First match back from the international break, Liverpool takes on Leicester. Leicester comes out in a 5-4-1 defensive shape. We come out in our 4-3-3. Our 4-3-3 would look to transition into something that looks along the lines of a 2 at the back, 2 holding midfielders, fullbacks pushed on, Firmino dropping, Keita moving up, and then having Mane and Jota. So it looks like a 2, a 4, a 2, and a 2. The reason for this being is that these are the key areas that they looked to attack against this back 5 and midfield 4. The gaps between the 3 center backs and the gaps between the 2 center midfielders. Now, as this ball was central, what we would see was opposite movement, potentially Firmino dropping as we showed there, and a player attacking in behind. But now, when the ball would get played out wide, instead of having this opposite movement that we just showed, what would happen is that with the overload of these 4 players in these key central areas, they would look to make the runs in behind and attack the gap on the blind side of the center back here, or the blind side of the wing back. When Leicester was in possession, they move into what looks like a 3-4-1-2 with the center forward who was helping Vardy, at times dropping, staying high. And then we have Albrighton as the right wing back who was told to give the width. This is a hard job for him considering the opposite wing back was not doing this. So if he gets pinned back, it's hard for him to get high. This is why Leicester struggled quite a bit getting forward and staying connected because of the work rate that was put in Albrighton, as well as the press from Liverpool. They denied the midfield 2 of Leicester of getting anything on the ball, working with one another to make sure that they were putting them in the shadow and cutting off. They had allowed the ball to go out into the wing back, so not your normal press of into here. They would allow it to go into there and they would look to press. They did not want the ball to go into the midfield. And if it did go into the midfield for some reason, they were able to have movement off of it or a third man movement. There was a heavy press from the midfield stepping from the goal side and a backwards press from the forward, allowing the midfielder no opportunity to turn and play forward and dictate play from this position. The pressing of the front 3 was very narrow. They made sure that they stayed inside of the back 3. So they were not positioned in a wide area to open up these gaps for Leicester to play into, but they stayed inside. Again, giving up the fullback, knowing that they could have 3 players step out and press. But the key was cutting off these midfielders in the central area. So they stayed with inside the back 3 of Leicester. What I mean by that is they weren't here and they weren't there. It means inside of his passing lane, inside of his passing lane. In Leicester's 5-4-1, with the 1 center forward up top, just wasn't engaging enough on the center backs and the 2 holding midfielders, allowing them to dictate play through the entirety of the match. At the same time, allowing them space to receive the ball in deadly areas. If you're allowing a midfielder to receive the ball in what I would call zone 2 or zone 4, they're able to be threatening to a wide area pass, an inside pass, as well as a vertical pass in between the lines. So not engaging him quick enough allows him to pick out passes which are going to break the lines. Either just break one and he can turn, or break both, set into a third man and potentially play that ball in behind. So the key, doesn't really matter which shape they had. Liverpool having their front 3 inside of the center backs or wing backs, not allowing any of these 3 players to get the ball were the keys for me as to why Liverpool were so successful in this match. Cutting down these 3 midfielders took Leicester's game plan off the table.